name is Neelam Agrawal. I live in Dallas with my family. I have two kids, Aryan, 14 years old, and daughter Krishangi, 10 years old. And both of them are diagnosed with Usher syndrome type 3B. And Usher syndrome is a very rare genetic disorder. However, it is the leading cause of combined deafness, blindness, and vestibular balance issues. I think my caregiving journey started with being a mother. I have two kids, but I've never had the joy of bringing my kids home with me. I never had the experience of holding my newborn kids in my arms. So they were born, both of them were born acutely sick, and they were immediately rushed to the NICU. When my son was 2 years old, he had a sudden onset of a very high fever, which made him like a newborn baby. He lost all his muscles. He could not even lift his head up. And I was actually on a vacation in India at that time. My hometown is in Calcutta. And we went to a neurologist there. And I was dismissed. I was like 27, 28-year-old or something like that. And, for the neurologist to say, you are just hyperreacting. There is nothing wrong with your child. But a mother's heart knows something is going on, even though you do not have the medical degree. So it has been a long journey from that time. He did learn to start walking all over again. But he was walking with a gait, a taxi gait. His head was dropped on his left shoulder. So we were living in North Carolina at that time. And our pediatrician sent him to an early childhood center, which is what happens in US. So in India, you do not have this setup, but in US, if you have a child who is identified with learning needs or developmental needs, you have an early childhood center where they identify these children and start to give them education early on to bridge the gap between them and their other peers when they are ready to go to school. And it was at that time that he was identified with hearing loss, mild to moderate. That was the first time I had someone who has hearing loss. I never had an opportunity prior to that to be around anyone with hearing loss. I did not understand that. And it was such a big learning for me to understand that hearing loss is not a binary thing. It is not on and off. It's the entire spectrum. It was important for me to learn. So I immersed myself. I think my caregiving journey has been to understand what has been going on with my kids. I had to educate myself because I saw my role as their biggest champion. I started this journey with my daughter. Again, it was a new Neelam who had to be born, because even though I can understand hearing loss by then, like the back of my hand, I had absolutely no idea about the deaf-blind world. And my daughter is in between. Again, just like hearing loss is the entire spectrum, blindness is the entire spectrum. My daughter really tested me. She took my heart, she took my soul and turned it inside out. And she came close to dying twice, first at birth and second when she was 2.5 years old. And I was desperate to hold on to her. All of this has just been a very interesting and also emotionally draining experience for all of us. So I do not know if you ask me about my caregiving journey. I think I have been a caregiver since the day I became a mom. I have not known life any other way. It was a very traumatic place for us to live that time. And it was like we are playing a real life Russian roulette. You do not know what to do. As a mother, your natural instinct is to bubble wrap your child, but you can't do that, right? So I think it was a very big learning experience for us to understand that every living moment we have to make a choice of either we can live as a victim or we can live powerful, knowing that everyone who is born will go eventually, but it is on us how to make the quality of the life meaningful. And that led me to understand that we have to let go of things that we cannot control. You are a caregiver for someone with a genetic progressive disorder. Science as of now has not caught up. Most of the time, we only have treatments. We do not have a cure, and some treatments work, sometimes the treatment don't work. So, you know, one sad reality is that the caregiver, whether you're a parent or a child or siblings, you have to mentally prepare that, your life is not guaranteed. Okay, your connection with this person is not guaranteed. And to be able to move beyond that and to bring meaning to your life becomes a very big hurdle. My husband became the only bread earner. My whole focus was to keep my kids healthy and to take care of them. And he took all this burden on himself, that he has to make sure that he can continue to grow in the work that he's doing, and he can keep bringing money because the treatments are expensive, the therapies are expensive. So you need a very good source of income to be able to afford that. So he was in his own struggle, trying to survive in a corporate world, grow up the corporate ladder, and I was in my own struggle, trying to make sense of my two kids. Community is very important for caregivers. They have to know that they are not alone. They have to lean on each other, and sometimes they want to talk with other people who are in the journey, because your parents may not understand, your siblings may not understand, but they understand. This community understands. You are a special needs parents. You cannot do this journey all by yourself. You need to find your community. You need to find your people. And the beauty of this is that even though everyone is going through their own hardships, they all have so much love in their heart that they want to come and help you. There have been times when, I had some questions and the doctors did not get back to me, but his moms had an answers for me. So, emotionally, I still felt safer knowing that if there is a critical information that I need, I have created this extensive network of special needs community who are there, who will be able to help me. My initial initiative was a very selfish reason that I wanted to understand how to help my children. That's how I got associated with the community. But now it's given me a purpose in my life, which is larger than my own kids. So, my kids have been my hero, and I'm so proud of them. Medicine is one part of the puzzle. Then it is so much bigger than that. You need educational setup, because you said each and every child has a potential. It depends upon the environment that they are brought up in. And, the people to believe in them and their potential, the school system to invest in them, and to give them opportunities to learn. It's not the responsibility of the society. And that is where the caregiving part, of your cause becomes so important, because there are so many hidden battles that we as a parent or we as a caregiver have to fight not only for our own well-being, but for the well-being of the people that we are caring for. It's just their eyes and their ears and their talents. Again, it's a whole spectrum. So we do not know where it will be, but this is all it is going to be. From that point, I think I found a purpose in my life. I finally had a moment to catch a breath. So the first thing I did was started investing in myself. When the kids were at school, I would go to the gym. I would, spend some time, go out, catch a cup of coffee with myself and all that. And second thing I started doing is again starting reading, because till then I only knew about mitochondrial disorder. If I can tell everyone is that if we do not take care of ourselves, if we do not replenish ourselves and our relationships as a spouse or as children or parents, whatever, you will be drained out like a bucket. Okay, you cannot just keep taking out. You have to put that back in. It's just not about, mental health or physical well-being, but creating a support system. Because I think the biggest fear for the caregiver is that we all are mortal, we all have no guarantee of what will be in the future. But when you're the primary caregiver of someone, what will happen to that person if something happens to you? You only have so much bandwidth within which you can function healthily. After that, you start getting all these negative emotions of feeling frustration, and being used, or feeling drained that everyone is dumping everything on you and no one is there. And it will be very wrong for me to say that you can sieve through all those emotions on your own. You cannot do that. And that is when it starts affecting the other relationships which are ancillary to you. You do not start connecting with your friends because you don't feel related to them. You start finding communication gap with your own spouse or your parents or your families. Mental health is important. Just like we go to a doctor for our fever or body aches, we have to understand that our brain is the main organ. It does everything, and our emotions are very much in our brain, and it needs to be spoken with someone who can understand that. I think if I were there, I would have loved if someone would have come with me and say, let's go and talk to them, and reach out, let's see this therapy session, and share our emotional journey and understand. And sometimes it's okay to cry, so we do not have to hold everything inside. Primarily it's women, and it's across the globe. It's just not in India, it's across the globe. Women are the primary caregiver, and women have been brought up in a way traditionally, oh, you're the nurturer, you're the woman, you will become a mother, and you're a sister. And also feel challenged that, if I am not the one who is taking care of the finance, am I a good father or am I a good son? When you're away from your child and you're working, at the back of your head, your child is still there. But you do not have the luxury to be in the same room with them, and you do not know what is going on with them. So that is a very draining experience, to be able to find someone. And I'm hoping, people, if they find themselves in such a place, they have that one person that they can rely on, that when they are not physically in the same environment of the person who is getting cared for, they are well taken care of. Because when you're working, you cannot be omnipresent, you cannot be with that person and at work. So I think it is even more stressful for a person to be a working caregiver. I just cannot imagine that kind of a struggle. I'm here because I identify with the work that you are doing. It's such a beautiful cause, and I think in everyone's life, we find ourselves in a caregiver role sooner or later. It's just that we do not realize that we are doing that. And while we are there tending to everyone's need, no one is there watching out for our wellness, our physical health, and our emotional wellness. So I was very impressed with the work that you are doing, and thank you for having me here today.